Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, radio DJ Mark SanAngelo. He's been in the business for a while now, and he's been a boss the whole time. He's a morning host on Oldies 93 and a midday host on Rock 101, a music programmer, and so much more. Let's get into it with Mark SanAngelo. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about, and it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. I'm so happy, excited. We're lucky, we're blessed to have the very awesome, experienced, knowledgeable radio king. His name is Mark SanAngelo.
Old.
Hey. Don't say that, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, Warren. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited because I met Mark back at a time when I was playing some really awesome festivals, and Taming Sorry was up at Go North, and yeah, you were hosting, right? Right, Mark? Yes, the hat, the logo.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the radio station that I work at, Rock 101. That was the first year that we actually were approached to host the Go North Music Festival, and it was an awesome show. And you were there. And when I was learning all these bands, I mean, I was getting copies of your album, and we had the headliner that was just amazing, and we had so many great bands that year. Crownlands that year. I mean, like, oh my gosh! I mean. And we had the guys from Thunder Bay, and then we had Vanessa and David from
Good Night Sunrise.
And it's like I'm drawing Good Night Sunrise and everything, and they're still out doing it and everything. And so, you guys, it was so cool. And I unfortunately the last 2 years since you guys were here, I haven't been able to go. So this year the Trues were the headliners this year. So at the Go North Music Festival. So
it must have been amazing.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Yeah,
well,
it was a great. I heard it was a great show. I didn't go. Like I said, I didn't go, but
yeah, we learned so much from that experience going up there and watching the pros like Crownlands and several other bands that were just so professional and had done this before. And you guys, everyone up there was so accepting. And for all of our viewers out there, Mark is on the American side of Sault Ste. Marie, and he's been a radio guru, I would say, for many, many years now. And that's I don't say that lightly. I mean, he's the operations manager for Sovereign Communications, and you guys run like 6 or 7. You run like 6 of 7 radio stations on there.
Yeah, we have 7 radio stations. And of those 7 radio stations, I program the music for 6 of them because one of them is a talk radio station, so there's no music on that. So we have everything from the rock station, which actually Labor Day weekend, Warren, it was my 30th anniversary of moving to Sault Ste. Marie, and it was also my 41st anniversary. I know it's hard to believe. I started when I was 2. But it's my 41st anniversary of being in radio. So,
congratulations, man! I was reading your biography, and it said like you got into radio because your friend in high school decided to go into radio.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I always wanted to go into acting. I loved being on the stage and being in theater. I was as a little kid, I started doing that, and wanted to do that. We had a family I grew up in Western New York, just near Rochester, New York. It's not too far from Toronto. And we had a family friend who went to New York City he was a pharmacist by trade, but he wanted to be an actor. And so I met with him and talked about wanting to go to acting. He says, well, you really need to get something that you can fall back on. They'll pay the bills while you're looking for acting jobs. So my buddy, who was a year older than me, had just started at his school. He goes, oh, why don't you try radio? That's kind of cool. And I'd always loved radio growing up. I mean, I grew up in the 70s. I loved listening to all the radio stations. I used to have a little white transistor alarm clock radio that at night I would tune in like the long distance stations from like Chicago and Atlanta and all over the country. And it was great. So I enjoyed radio. So I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds like fun. You know, so here I am 41 years later.
Well, you did darn good for yourself, hopping in there like that.
So funny story. So let me tell you a funny story here. So, my junior year in high school, we had a class in computers and had never seen a computer in my life. And they're the old big tube computers with the green screens. And they taught us how to do basic programming, like if this, then that, then whatever. And I did the class, and because we had to do it, and I said, "This is boring. Nobody's ever going to want to do this. I'm going to go into radio."
There you go. Sometimes we call things the way we see it, and sometimes you were right for you. Look at you. Maybe if you'd gone into the other, it wouldn't have worked out. So, I mean, you made the right call for you. And I was talking yesterday on the show here with someone who recently graduated from a radio broadcasting program. And, I was talking with her about the difficulties today of people trying to get into radio, at least here in Canada. I don't know what it's like exactly in America, but up here, people are being laid off left, right, and center when it comes to media. And there's only a couple of major media companies here in Canada. So when one or the other decide to start laying people off, it's felt across the country pretty much. So is it still bad? Like, is it still difficult in America right now? What's it like there?
It's very difficult. In fact, funny. I just was I graduated from Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana, back in 1987, and went there specifically to go for broadcasting. I had my 4-year degree in broadcasting. And we just had a reunion of a lot of old radio people there this summer, and it was pretty cool. But there's so many. It's the same thing in the States, just much bigger because there's so many radio stations in the United States. There's over 20,000 radio stations in the United States, and all these companies. The government allowed. There was a point in time where the government in the States, you could only own so many radio stations, and they relaxed those rules. Probably within the last 20 years, 25 years. And as a result of that, a lot of these bigger companies gobbled up the smaller companies. And then what happened was, along that, those computers that I thought were stupid, all of a sudden become what runs the radio station. So now a guy in Sault Ste. Marie can voice track and not even be in Duluth, Minnesota, and do a radio station. So a lot of really good radio people that I know personally that have been years in radio, the beautiful voices, they're just what we say on the beach, because they got, pushed out and everything because they were making pretty good money because had been around for a long time. They had really great careers, and they've had to come up with other things to do. And it's really sad to see. So it's happening here too. It's very tough. I always I never try to discourage people to go into radio because I think it's important, and because old guys like me, we're not getting any younger. We're not the cool hip guys that we used to be, even though we wear the Taming Sorry hats.
Come on.
We hang out with Gene Simmons. Come on, man. I try my best, but my wife keeps reminding me, she goes, "You're not getting any younger and you're not getting any hipper." So, I know. But anyway, I tell people, you've got to know computers. You've got to learn computers and be really diverse in your knowledge. Whereas when I started, you had to have the voice, you had to have the pronunciation if you were going to go on air, and then if you're going to go into the technical aspect, you had to have that. But now you have to have it all. So.
Exactly. And from the time that I was in my technical television broadcasting program in 2005 to 2007, they were rolling out, high definition upgrades and all this stuff. So everything we were learning was pretty much, we were being told, it's outdated. What the world has just changed so quickly, so rapidly. And isn't it ironic or maybe frustrating for radio people at this podcast explosion that has occurred? because it is essentially radio in many ways, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I think it has given a lot of those people that have lost their jobs a new avenue to actually create and do stuff online, like yourself and other people. I know a lot of radio people that are actually, and with the advent of like TikTok, which I'm not much of a TikTok guy, but you can play music on TikTok and not get flagged for it. So whereas like if you're trying to do something on Facebook or other, I've done actually, live things on Facebook, and all of a sudden I've got, some record company saying, well, you're using our song and everything, and we're going to mute your thing. I'm like, I'm not making any money off of this, dude. I'm just trying to entertain people, and trying to have some fun, But so, I think a lot of the radio people that I know are actually embracing the advent of the podcast because it gives them a creative outlet that they 20 years ago wouldn't have had.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to look at something like this. I started getting into it because of, Conan O'Brien hopping into it. And many years ago, I watched Joe Rogan. I don't watch it anymore so much. I found the show became political and started becoming different. But I loved it in the first three seasons or so. And just the free form conversations that were going on. And then I loved that he gave kudos to my school's alumni, Tom Green, and said, Tom Green's one of the founders of the podcast. And I was like, yeah, when I was in school, Tom had his own studio in his house. And people in my program, for their final assignment, they flew out to LA and they skateboarded around until they could find where Tom Green lived. And yeah, they ended up being able to stay there and work on his show for a couple of days. Because he opened the garage and he had a baseball bat, and they said, we come in the name of Ron Cormack, who was the name of our teacher. And he passed away this year, but he actually taught there for many, many, many years. So because he knew that they were from the same school, he let them come in,
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the cool podcasts I recently, and I think podcasts just during COVID really blew up because everybody was at home and they didn't have anything to do. My wife and I started doing a podcast during COVID because we didn't have anything else to do. It was like, we're getting sick and tired of looking at each other. Let's do something fun, And so we started doing that, and it was fun. We called it SanAngelo time, and you can still listen to it out there. But we haven't done one in a long time, but because we've gotten busy. But I loved the ones when this past year, I think it was last year, when the writer's strike was going on. And all the late night talk show hosts got together and did a podcast. I don't know if you listened to it, but it was comedy genius. It was great.
Oh yeah. Oh man. It's nice to get away from some form of television commercial, the way it's been set up. It's happening more and more to podcasts. If you want to make money, then obviously you do advertisements if you have an audience.
Sure.
And it just makes sense, right? Because people are trying to make a living out of entertainment still. So you're the morning host at Oldies 93.9 FM, or just Oldies 93 online, and Rock 101, you're the midday host. And yeah, you've been doing this a very long time, and you're a music, what's the correct word? Music programmer. So you decide what music goes on.
Yep.
Can you give some bands some insight into what goes into that process, or how you came to that, or what's involved in it?
Well, I would say music has probably always been a key part of my life and everything. I took piano lessons when I started at 5 years old, and took them for 9 years old, and hated every 9 years of piano lessons because my mom used to force me to perform for my grandmother, and as I hated it, and I wasn't playing any of the music that I wanted to play, So
me too, man.
But it was so brutal, and I'm glad that I did that because my dad was very musical and everything, and he had a beautiful singing voice, and And I can sing, but not nearly as. I mean, my dad was wonderful, and could have actually had a career out of it, but he chose to raise a family, so that's what he did. And he never. I asked him until the day he died, and did you ever? Nope, never regretted it once. So, but so I got blessed with a little bit of the music stuff. So I would, and Dad also worked in radiology, so he wouldn't let me play sports. I couldn't play sports, anything that would break my bones. So I never had a motorcycle. I never could play football. I could never play any contact sport. But I could be in marching band, so because it's the worst thing I'm going to do. I'm going to strain a muscle or something, so.
That's amazing. Oh.
Yeah. So like I say, music has always been a big part of my life. I went to my first concert when I was 13. 13 years old, Buffalo Auditorium. 1978. My first two concerts, 1978, 1980, were both Queen.
Wicked. Yeah, my mom and my uncles,
with Freddie
they
Mercury,
went to go see him. Yeah, man, that must have been amazing.
I mean, as a front man, I mean, can you think of anybody that's a better front man than Freddie Mercury?
No, I mean, I can think of frontmen who come close, or frontmen who maybe he took things from. Like, I mean, my favorite frontman is Cab Calloway, but we're going way back.
Sure. Oh wow,
you know what I mean? And that's because I think
Cab
everyone
Calloway
ripped
from
him
Rochester,
off.
New York.
Oh, brilliant. And yeah, like I just think everybody stole from Cab, and that's okay. I mean, that's just because he was so good. Sure. And then again, I mean, Michael Jackson's not a front man, but I mean, I think if you put him in front of any band at any time, he probably would have been able to dominate the same way. Yeah,
it's the same thing for Prince. Prince the same way.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, my dad, working as a custodian here in Ottawa, Canada, he got to witness Prince set up the basketball court outside the arena and play with his. They did it for real. Like, when my dad came home and told me,
did they make pancakes afterwards?
I bet they did. Like, they have everything. Like, my dad's stories from being a custodian there are wild. Like Elton John going around on a golf cart with a little dog. And really funny things like that. But just getting to see Prince do the basketball thing, I was like, that's a Chappelle sketch. Like, it's amazing you got
exactly.
to
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
That's
why I asked about the pancakes. I'm like, they whipped our butts, then they made us pancakes. That's great.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
So going back to music and everything, though, Warren. I mean, so Queen was my band back in the day, and then I transitioned to. I got a little more proggy, and then I got into Genesis, and then Queen kind of went a different direction, and that's when I really got into Rush. And as you know, I'm a huge Rush fan. Seen them 14 times and just loved Rush. I mean, when I finally got to, and now it's more, now that they're kind of gone by the wayside, bands like Dream Theater and Tool and stuff like that are proggy are kind of like in my wheelhouse and everything. But I've always listen, I like every kind of music. The only kind of music I really can't take is country. I have a hard time with country music.
That's funny. I mean, I can handle it. I grew up in a place where country is very popular. I mean, and that's just, I think because in Canada, we had Shania Twain, we had some breakout stars who really dominated the scene, and everyone here was very proud. And also, every city here, it's just surrounded by rural communities. That's what Canada is. There's like a city that's kind of a city in American standards, and then a bunch of little towns all around it, Right. And so people here, they all think they're from the country. I mean, here in Ottawa, we have places like Stittsville, and they think they're living in the country. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're a suburb of the capital city of Canada, But although some people here, that they love the character of it. They love the hardworking, blue collar, loyal, drinking on a Saturday night character. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't think so. And so Rush, that's something where everybody from your generation who has come onto this show has said they loved. It's like a reoccurring theme. Certain bands that have now come up maybe 10, 15, 20 times, Rush, and then Queen as well, and Kiss. So what did you think about Kiss? You've got Gene behind you there. I mean...
So, funny story. So this is the Rock Studio, and I don't always spend time in the Rock Studio. The Kiss, Gene Standy is actually our morning show guy, Scott Cook's. It actually was his wife's, and he brought it in, and he's been here ever since. He's got a lay on. We just keep adding things to Gene, keep adorning him with different things. So, I mean, he might be wearing the Taming Sorry hat before we're done tonight. So,
nice.
But so when I was growing up, and again, music, I was really starting to discover rock music and everything. We used to make fun of people that like Kiss. The people that, in fact, it's funny. A buddy of mine who was a huge Kiss fan, and he was a couple years younger than me, and we used to hang out all the time. And, we were, 10, 11, 12 years old or whatever, listening to music and everything. And he loved Kiss. And we used to razz the crap out of him. This band sucks. They're 3 chords. It's all they are, and it's like, so, and we talked about that recently. I'm like, yeah, they're still 3 chords, but they're okay now, so.
They stuck with it.
Yeah. I mean, that was their thing, and that was their wheelhouse, and they did, listen, say what you want to say about Kiss. And this is almost like a quote from Geddy Lee and everything. Cause Geddy Lee and Alex and Neil all gave a lot of credit to Kiss, because Rush, when they were coming up, opened up for Kiss. And they said they learned so much about, showmanship and putting on a great show and, and lighting and things like that, and stage presentation from Kiss that they didn't know. And I mean, if you of course went to a Rush show later on in life, you saw a lot of that, coming from Kiss. I mean, it was a big event with a Rush show. There was the explosions and the lights and things similar to what you would have seen, at a Kiss show. So, and I've seen Kiss, saw Kiss once. I saw them in Detroit. It was the tour that they first came back with the makeup on. And so it was still the original 4. And it was at Tiger Stadium, and it was great. It was great. It was fun. There was a lot of people that were there. In fact, it was funny. My brother and I went to that show together, and we're sitting there and we're looking, and all of a sudden this guy walked by, and we both looked at each other and said, "Holy shit. That was Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins." Walked right. I swear to God, it had to have been him. So.
Wow. One time I thought I saw Slash at a festival, but it was supposedly a lookalike. I don't know. Maybe Slash was like pulling one over me, but because I could have sworn it was him, man. But anyways, those moments happen. With Kiss, God, they taught all the bands how to market.
I see you got love. I see you got some Kiss stuff behind you there. You got a little love gun action there, huh?
Love guns up there, and then I had Kiss Alive up before. But I took that. I keep moving them around, but I can't let go of Ziggy Stardust, and I can't let go of the 10cc. Just the 10cc is just, I think, one of the coolest album covers ever. I just think it's really a sweet concept.
So 10cc. What's on that album that you got behind you there? Is there any big hits off of that one? Or?
Let's see here. We've got Good Morning Judge, The Things We Do for Love, People
right
in
there,
Love.
big hit.
Yeah. Other side 2. No, I think the big one on this is The Things We Do for Love and Good Morning Judge. I think those are probably the most notable off this one, but I just love the concept work. Like all of it. I think
they were a great concept band too. They had a song called "I'm Not in Love," which I'm sure you're probably aware of that. I mean, read the history of the production of that song. I mean, the stuff that they did to do those audio singing and everything. They recorded themselves singing 3 different times, each note a 13 note scale, and then they had it on the deck of the control board. And to play it, they would have to slide it up and slide it down. And it's like, how the hell did you come up with an idea like that? But it's a beautiful song. It's an amazing song. So
it really is.
And that's one of the things I really enjoy too about music and everything is the history of music, of how, not just how it sounds and everything, but how was it made. When a song really piques my interest and everything, I really want to dive into it. And like that one. There's a new song out. I don't know if you've even heard it yet, by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. It's a slow song. Have you heard it?
I think I have. Yeah. What's it called again?
It's called Die with a Smile.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard it once or twice. Yeah.
Gorgeous song. The harmonies in it are just amazing. And it's just, and again, you look at the two huge superstars blending their voices together and creating a pretty amazing piece of music and everything. So, so that's a song. So going back to how I pick songs, I mean, a lot of it, I have to be very careful because I can't always pick on my personal preference because, otherwise, because I just know that not everybody likes music the way I do, I mean, a lot of people like Kiss, so I got to play Kiss, I mean, so there's, not everybody likes Rush, so I can't play the entire Rush library, as much as I would love to, so, but it's like, I hear a song, like, I'll tell you, like, and not to blow smoke up your skirt there, Warren, but I mean, when I heard your stuff when you guys were coming up here and everything, and we still play Taming Sorry on Rock 101 3 years later. So, I mean, cause they're just good songs. I mean, it's a good music and everything. And it's great. And I know when you were up here, you and I talked and everything about, the sound of your band and everything and how I really think that, some of the other bands that, you kind of tailored your sound after and everything. I mean, it's just amazing and it's great. And but it's completely different from like Crown Lands, it's completely different from, the Honest Heart Collective or anybody else, it's, and all three of those, all four of the bands that were up there for the Go North Music Festival had each distinct sound, but all fit perfectly on our rock station because I don't have a formula. I don't have a corporate formula that I have to follow where I've got to play so many of this or so many of that. I go and listen to music, probably new music 3 or 4 times a week as things come out, and then I'll sit down and I'll say, okay, I have these many slots for new songs. What are the best songs? What do I think fit who I think listen to the radio station? And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, so but I also rely on there's some research out there that is available that I can look at too to kind of see what other radio stations are using because I mean that's I figure that like a station like the Riff down in Detroit is playing a song, then chances are it might be a pretty good song because they're not going to be playing a bunch of crap. So but some of their songs that they do pick that they play, I'm like, I'm not going to play it. So.
Right. And again, maybe they picked those songs for some, like you said, maybe it's not their style, but maybe that's something they have to play or something they have to bring in for whatever reason. Sure. Maybe they do have a corporate, master, whatever you want to call it. I mean, up here in Canada, we have CanCon. So it tries to protect Canadian music creation and and it kind of becomes a battlefield for that time slot, for that available time.
Sure.
And, bands like the Glorious Sons and, J.J. Wild and the Tragically Hip. And there's so many great Canadian bands who they can dip into. They don't really have to dip into too much new stuff. They can wait for somebody like the Sheepdogs or, something like that to really spring out at them, if you know what I mean. So it's an inch. I think it's different up here. When we charted, I think Taming Sorry was being played on maybe 20 of 27 rock stations in the country or something like that. You said there's like thousands. You said there's thousands of stations in the States.
Unbelievable. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a big, population wise, it's a bigger country, and it seems like there's a radio station like where there's McDonald's, there's at least 5 radio stations, so, but a lot of them are owned by, the corporate big corporate companies, and they have their corporate guru who says, this is what you're going to play. You don't get to pick. This is what you're going to play on your rock station. This is what you're going to play on your country station, because they want them all to sound. They feel that they've put in the work and the research to create the sound that they want. And it's, it's unfortunately, it's really made it difficult for independent bands or up and coming bands to really have a way of wiggling their way into the music tapestry of the United States, because it's just you get lost. I mean, it's totally lost. I used to get a call from a gentleman. They used to have promotion guys, and you guys have in Canada. You were telling me too that you have a guy or people that will advocate on your behalf or whatever to different radio stations, right?
Yeah, promotions companies. Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So record companies in the States used to employ their own promotions people and everything. And they would call the radio station back in the day and they'd say, oh, we want you to play, we got this new band, Taming. Sorry, they're great. Yeah. We're going to send you a whack of their albums, and they're going to be coming to town, and we're going to get them in the studio. We're going to do this. And we're going to take you out to dinner, and they're going to do all this, and they were trying at that point to try to get the local radio station, because the local radio station at that time had the control. When it went corporate, that control went away. So so did those people's jobs. There's like maybe a couple of them, and they're promoting all the ones that don't need the promotion,
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing great, when Taming Sorry was doing great, we had local support. We had our song on the rock radio station, well, one of two rock radio stations here in the city. And it's unfortunate, but they had to change their format. They had to move to pretty much took the old music list from the other rock station, who, is a legacy. Shea 106 here in Ottawa is a legacy station. It's been around for forever and ever and ever, and they're not worried about playing anything new. They're not concerned with that, and we understand that. If you're a band here in the city, that's not really going to happen unless you get to the level of Glorious Sons. Whereas this other station was fantastic. It was allowing different local acts to be featured and to be found and discovered, and it was a big deal for us. It helped us in many, many ways. So I think that radio proved to me that it was still very, very useful, very powerful, very beneficial to a band, and just nothing like getting in your car, randomly starting it and hearing your song come on and just being like, is there? No, there really isn't, because like you're not expecting it, and you go, oh, my CD's not in the player. I don't listen to my own stuff all the time, and and then and when it first started happening, people sending you the messages and the pictures of it, and they're hearing it and they're showing you. So that stuff from my childhood, where I did have an immersed childhood in radio and in early television. And then I witnessed this dramatic change in 96, 97, 98, where I was 9, 10, 11 kind of thing. And so during that time period, the whole world started just dramatically changing. Out came these cell phones. Out came, forget beepers, forget pagers, all that nonsense. It was, we were going into a new technological age. And
if you think about it, I was going to say, if you think about it, for the longest time, radio was it. That was the only way that you would hear music, was, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, growing up in, 70s and 80s until MTV hit back in like 80, 81, 82, and then all of a sudden that became the big thing. Now radio was always still there, but now all of a sudden you've got this other thing. Well, then the internet came out, and then there were CDs and there's MP3s and stuff. And I remember the first time I saw a CD, I'm like, what the heck is that? It's a compact disc. I'm like, I'm playing albums over here. How could I play that? That doesn't look like it's going to fit on this turntable, So there's a machine over here. You stick it in. I'm like, oh, that looks dumb. So just like the computer that I saw when I was a junior in high school, that looks dumb. But
this is amazing. Like I don't think there's that many career, like this time period where all the technological changes happened, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And not little ones, but massive, massive changes to the industries. And I think that's why they haven't recovered. I think that's why musicians are still struggling to find a way forward in this world, unless they find financial backing of about $100,000 and $150,000. However, they find that, and then they've got a shot. I mean, you look at somebody like Jelly Roll. He charted for the first time when I charted for the first time, and the career trajectories are quite different. But I am very, I got to play Blues Fest too here in Ottawa, a legendary festival. But when he came here and played Blues Fest, he dominated it. He went and did a private show at the mental hospital here in town, which went over amazingly well. And yeah, just you can see it when people have great teams with them, when people have amazing teams. And I tell the young girl artists or lady artists who come on to the show and they're disappointed, I say, like, listen, Celine Dion didn't make a dime until Renee spent like the equivalent of $1 million on her. So it's just, art is art. You have to do it for the sake of art. And
you have to do it because you love it. You have to do it because you believe in it. And if you believe in, and I would tell this to, I think I told this to you guys. I think I would tell it to any band that asked me for my opinion. Yeah, don't get into it for the money. Get into it because you love doing what you're doing, and pour your heart and soul into it, and don't compromise. Know your sound, know what you want to do and everything. And the one nice thing about the way technology has changed, the Warren, is that now there are so many different avenues for bands to get their music out there. And it's so much easier for a band to create. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm sitting here on a laptop that probably has the power to run Pro Tools and can, I can plug a mixing board in here and I can do everything, and I can do it right here on this countertop while my wife's over there making dinner. I mean, it's like the technology is made it so much easier for bands and artists to create, where they don't have to have the big money to get into a studio or whatever. Now, you still need to have the promotion and everything, but there's the avenues that you can use promotion. And again, it's got to be a labor of love, and then I think the other thing too is that you've got to really identify, because there are still, and I don't know so much about in Canada, but in the United States, like our station and our group, independent little radio stations around that might fit that, genre of music, where we're not getting, there's new music out there that I would love to play on Rock 101, but I can't even get a download of it from the record company. I can't get the record company to return my calls or my emails, because I'm like, dude, I want to play this song. Everybody else in the country is playing. How come I can't get a copy of it? And it's like, because I'm not part of the big group of, radio stations that belong to the big corporate, machine. So, and eventually I if it's bad enough, I'll rattle enough cages to try to find it and everything. So I've got a few connections here and there, but it's what you guys do, what musicians do is hugely important for society. I mean, it's amazing, because you guys, no matter, you might not always know it, but I think your music will touch somebody, at least one person, if not a whole bunch of people, and the message and the feel, and it's like, and it's those connections that's why you do it, that's why you do it. You don't do it for the big paycheck. You do it because A, I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else. And B, it's because I get to make that connection with this person. I mean, what it's like. I mean, you've done enough shows and everything. You probably got people singing your lyrics back to you, huh? How cool of a feeling is that?
I mean, that's an amazing thing. And there's many, many stories. Music takes you places. It takes you places and it lets you meet people. And I mean, look, when someone says, hey, you got to sign my girlfriend's boob, man. Like, you did an amazing show, please. And you're just like, I don't know if I really feel like it's the best idea, but I'm going to do it. And, and there you go. And then sometimes
you asked me, so, here we go.
And after a show, I've had people come up and say, hey, me and my boyfriend, we make love to Gone and Run Away all the time. And it's such a beautiful song. And I'm like, I love it, but I didn't need these images.
You need the visual. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, but
thanks.
these are the
Every time you sing that, now you're going to be thinking about that, So.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, yes. And then you get the people who just are really kind and they just tell you that it touched them or that they like singing
Mhm.
it. Or I get people who say, bring back this song, because there are songs from the first album we don't really play or didn't play for years. And people would get frustrated. So sometimes if, birthday parties came along or whatever, then yeah, we'll throw it back in for somebody
Mhm.
special and that type of
Right.
thing. And yeah, it's a joy being able to share your art and have people buy into it with you is just a really incredible thing. Making music videos with people and getting to include all of our, you know, opening it up to our fan group and saying, hey,
Mhm.
you want to come on a pirate ship and hang out with the band for the day, hear an
Who doesn't want
unreleased
to go on
song.
a pirate ship?
Yeah, you got to bring a costume. There was like a $25 sign up, but that helped us pay for the boat rental.
Sure.
And,
Mhm.
and it also got everyone a couple drinks before the show and things like that. And it's special. I'll never forget
Sure.
that. I'll never
Right.
forget those moments. And I've been told by people who took part in those events that they were really special days. So
Sure.
yeah, and again, meeting you, getting to watch Crown Lands from the side of the stage. Um, Look, I tell the
Yeah.
stories about
Mhm.
that all the time because they're very interesting. Like you, getting up from the drum kit, running back while Kevin does a solo. Kevin soloing with a foot pedal that's his bass, right? And then so
Mhm.
the vocalist runs back and he downs a beer and then he starts inhaling on something. And I'm going, there's no
Mhm.
way. There's no way he's inhaling a vape because you can't come and
Mhm.
sing like Cody sings after
Right.
vaping because he sings like an angel. But
Maybe
he
if it was
comes.
an inhaler, maybe it was an inhaler or something like that, maybe.
So I asked him afterwards and he said, yeah, it's an inhaler with essential
Uh-huh.
oils. And it's like
Wow.
a thing that cool singers do. And I was like, now I need to get this for myself, and but I'm very
Uh-huh.
basic.
'Cause you
I
are
just
a cool singer, Warren. You are a cool
oh,
singer.
thanks, man. I'm getting back
Yeah.
into it for sure. I'm gonna jam on Thursday, with Alex
Nice.
from Taming Sorry and a few other people, and hopefully we start building something really cool. As for Taming Sorry, we're hopefully gonna come back one day. But for now
Mhm.
we're on a hiatus, and that's life. Sometimes people have life issues and things that happen, but I can honestly say for myself, I'm not done. I'm grateful. I'm
Yeah.
still in love. I'm still in love with it. I still love creating and sharing. So I'll be coming back with some new music soon.
Good. That's great. I mean, and again, I mean, that's fantastic. Again, and and I understand. I mean, you think about look at I mean, how many bands can you talk about that were guys, they're in, they're out, or whatever. I mean, it's again, it's such a labor and I mean, you've got to be all in or you're not in, I mean, that's the thing, and if you're going
Yep.
to take it to the level that, you want to go to. So I think, I think it's great. And I think it's fantastic. I mean, when you and I were meeting up here, when you were up here for the festival a few years ago and everything, we talked about your process and about what you need to do to make your voice. Cause I mean, your talking voice and your singing voice are diametrically different. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And I remember watching you sing and I'm like, well, I can swear on this podcast, right? Holy
Oh
shit, how
yeah.
does this guy sing like that? Holy crap. I mean, this guy's this mild mannered dude, a couple minutes ago, and all of a sudden he's like, holy God, what is that coming out of his voice?
Uh,
But it was fantastic. I'm not, it's
Thanks,
just, I
man.
mean, and so I just knew it was, I mean, that's a special talent there and everything. And it's like, holy cow, that guy's, I mean,
Yeah.
I hope for, I mean, I hope for every band that they have the huge success and everything. I know that not every band is going to have huge success. It's just, that's the way it is. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, not every radio guy becomes Howard Stern or, Ryan Seacrest, Some of
Right.
them become Mark
And
SanAngelo, they work in Sault Ste. Marie, So,
hey, man, and when you dig deep and you find out the stories behind, these people who got to these places, like Howard Stern or whoever it might be, sometimes you go, yeah, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take the crap that they had to take, or the sacrifices, or the downs that they took to get back up. That's what I see with bands, and that's why I'm inspired by bands like Crownlands, because there's no excuses when you see them. They drove into that festival with their own van, with their own gear, and they set it up themselves, and they brought out their own guitar tech, and they were just the most professional duo you could imagine, and there was no excuses. They had the best outfits, they had the best set, they had the best everything, and there was no excuses. They just did it right. So that's inspiring to me. That's that for me.
I would, and I. And I would say too that there was no ego. I mean, the fact that those guys were the nicest, I mean, just most genuine. I think everybody on that weekend was just so personable and so nice and everything, so great to get to know and everything. And I mean, yeah, Cody and Kevin, I was just like, holy crap, these guys are just like down to earth and everything, and just super cool and everything. And we talk. I mean, since they're huge, obviously huge Rush fans and everything, and inspired by that band. And I'm like, my gosh, it's like if you took, Geddy, or it's like Neil Peart and half of Geddy Lee, and then the other half of Geddy Lee becomes, merges with Alex Lifeson. It's like, holy crap, it's like, I mean, how can two people make that much music? I couldn't. I mean, when you listen to the record, it's like, there's no way they can do this in person. There's no way it's all going to be, and then you see them like running around like they're madmen, especially Kevin. It's like, holy crap, this guy's like all over the place playing keyboards, and there's two different pedal boards and everything, like, and this big double neck bass and guitar. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they're the real deal. And again, it didn't happen with them overnight. I mean, they have worked hard to get to where they are now. And even now, they're not where they should be. I mean, would you agree?
I would say, thank goodness that Greta Van Fleet, that they got onto that tour, and that they got to go down and do 40, 50 dates in the States, opening for Greta Van Fleet. I think that probably helped them out big time. But they need more of it. 100%. They need a lot more of it. And the thing about them is they are true artists. They won't compromise what they're doing. When we talk to them, and, we said, what do you do? Singles? Do you do albums? What's your thought process on promoting? And they said, no, we do what we do. We make albums. We love making concept albums, and our fans like it. And that's what we worry about. We don't worry about tailoring singles or anything like that. And so I know they don't mind. They love the road they're on. They love their fans. I watched them at that night sell out 5 boxes of vinyls in Sault Ste. Marie. I think I sold 8 or 9, and I was super happy with that. But that's the thing. Levels of success. As long as you're grateful, as long as you're humble, good.
100%.
Good. I think they're worthy of whatever comes their way, and I hope it keeps going up, up, up. I'm actually going to be jamming. One of the guys I'm jamming with on Thursday is their guitar tech. So that will be
cool.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun. I'll get to talk with him about whatever's going on, And up there that weekend, there was just so many cool lessons that we learned. But that whole trip was interesting. Sudbury was interesting. That's where we went in, and it was like a bar, but also a strip club. And the bar that was on, and the band that was on stage, they were all underage. So like when they walked by the doorway to the strip club entrance, they'd like kind of have to shield their eyes, you're not allowed to go in there. And so it was just a great fun trip up there, that I'll never forget. And I'll never forget Joe jumping into the bed.
Do you guys keep in touch with it? Yeah. Do you guys keep in touch with any of the other bands that were up there? Or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good Night Sunrise. We still talk with Vanessa. And of course, I mean, she was, again, someone who taught us a bunch of stuff. And she taught us, for example, like she was smart. She went to Cody and Kevin and she was like, if you let me set up beside you guys with my merch, I'm going to sell your merch. And they were like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, Vanessa,
Sure.
you are a genius. Please let me set my merch up beside your merch.
And get some of that genius off of you, please.
That's right. Do you mind if I share in your genius maneuver? And she was always kind enough. And it's because we opened up our trailer and we let her do her makeup in our trailer earlier that day. So she felt we did a little tradesy.
Nice.
Yeah, and talking about Rush and Kiss, like they've got the connection of the fact that they both have mothers that were in concentration camps during World War II.
Yeah,
Geddy Lee and Gene Simmons.
And
so I'm
Gene
sure
Simmons,
they bonded under that quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
then the talent levels that are just off the charts in both bands. Talking about Kiss and about the 3-chord thing, that has a lot to do with them really wanting to be the Beatles, but understanding they had to be new, understanding it couldn't be anything resembling the Beatles, except that they, stylistically in a way, they were going after early Beatles style. And it's kind of funny. It's and again, being a kid in the 90s, watching Detroit Rock City, it was a real eye opener. It was a blast. I think that movie was great at showing kids at my age in the 90s, like what the 70s was like. Same as Dazed and Confused. Would you say
and Confused, one of my favorite movies. Love that movie.
Yeah. Would you say that those
definitely would say the 70s were like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Eh? And
I would say both of those movies for sure. Yeah.
Did you get to see Zeppelin live? You saw Queen live.
Didn't see Zeppelin. No.
So,
because John Bonham would have died, in 1980? And so my first concert, and I was 15, so my first concert was only 2 years before that. And I don't, but I do remember, so interesting about Led Zeppelin. So my dad, again, was into the crooners and everything like that, hated rock music. My dad hated it. It's like, oh, this crap, so it was always, Perry Como, Andy Williams, Frank Sinatra, all that stuff. And so my uncles were the ones who kind of taught me about rock music. So I remember my Uncle Mike, which is my dad's youngest brother, gave me a copy of the Monkees album. And it's like, I loved watching the Monkees on TV. I used to watch the Monkees TV show back in the 70s, which was pretty cool. And that was kind of early rock music. And then my uncle Kevin, who was married to my aunt Carlene, gave me Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. And it's like, what's this? This isn't Perry Como. This isn't whoever the hell my dad's listening to. This is amazing. So those are some of my first two albums that I was given to, that kind of opened up the door for rock for me. Because other than that, if that hadn't been for those, I never would have heard them. So,
brilliant, and that's a great story. I mean, I think the first time anybody who loves rock music listens to a Zeppelin album cover to cover, like the first time, I think it has to blow their mind. It really does. And
unbelievable.
Anyone who doesn't get that it's a representation of the blues, and in their opinion, the best of the blues, but done in 70s style rock, it's like, that's what it is. People will say it's a ripoff or whatever. It's not. This is what music is. Music is building off art, and it's trying to build into a genre or make something. And to me, it was paying respect, if anything, and showing the power of that music and what it could really do.
Well, a lot of those bands back in the day, and again, you guys being kind of a blues band as well, they, I mean, so many bands from back in the day, you think of Cream, you think of Zeppelin, you think of, Hendrix. They're all blues artists. They all decided, even the Beatles decided, because of some of the blues stuff that they heard on the radio, that was coming in and everything. It's like, this is amazing. For them, there was nothing else like it. And so that's what they wanted to emulate, and so, and, even some of the newer bands today, like, you think of Foo Fighters and everything, and everybody is everything goes back to something. It's hard. And I'm sure as a creator of music, this just as well, that it's hard to make something new, so there's only so many notes and, so many notes that you can play. There's only so different chords that you can play. You can play them in different time. You can play them in a different rhythm. But at the end of the day, there's only so many major and minor chords that you can play. And the way you craft them together into a song is what makes that song unique. But, it's like people say, well, this sounds like that. Well, that sounds like that. Well, it's going to sound a little bit like something because there's only 13 notes in a scale.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also how you make a genre and keep a genre going. And
Sure.
look at Nashville and what they've been able to do by consistently borrowing from one another and not worrying about it. In fact, they write together. They honestly get together in these writers groups, and they're just out there every night building this genre, building this scene. And they understand it that, these notes and the way we play these notes is a style, and we can now play with that and get into motifs and get into concepts, and that allows you to dig deeper. And I just want to say, I hope that I get to come back up there again and hang out with you again soon, because, man, it was a lot of fun. And tonight's been a lot of fun. I want to ask you, do you have any advice for people who want to get into this crazy world of radio? And are you going to stick around for another 10, 15, 20 years on the radio with us, please?
Yeah, I will, because in radio there is no retirement program except for the one retirement program called death. So I will be here until my every radio guy who's like me, his is to crack the mic, like talking to the mic, on the air. It's like, hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Turn the mic off and then keel over, and that's it. You've done your last break and everything, and then you're done. So that's the goal. So, but I hope it's at least 10 or 15 years, hopefully longer than that. So, I can't imagine. It's hard for me to sometimes say it, but in January, Warren, I turned 60. So I know I don't look a day over 55. I understand.
You look great. But don't be hard on yourself. And
I appreciate that. So no, I know, but I love it. I
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else but this. I like rock music. I love new rock music. I like, obviously the classic stuff. The new stuff is what keeps me going. Because the old stuff's always going to be the old stuff and everything. So when I hear something that really piques my interest, it's like, wow, what's that? What's that Taming Sorry band that I'm listening to that needs a bigger record deal? What can I do to help these boys, make it big and everything? That's what I want to do. I want to say, I remember them when, and they better remember to spell my damn name right and everything, because I was the one that helped get them there,
SANA. I will not mess it up.
What's that guy's name again up in Sault Ste. Marie? What the hell was that old guy's name? But but
no way.
No, but so for anybody who wants to go into radio, it's just like anything else. You've got to have a passion for it. You've got to be really diverse in what you can't go in just as an announcer. You have to know every aspect of the business. You have to know engineering. You have to know sales. You have to know the business end of it. You have to understand the operations of a radio station. Whereas when I started, you really didn't need to know that. I've learned a lot of it by osmosis for all the years that I've been in it. But, to be as valuable to a company as possible. So if you can come in and, hey, I'm really good at social media because I suck at social media, come in and do the social media for us, come in and, it's like anything else. You want to become a band. You do what you got to do to get to where you want to get there. So, so that's what I would say at the beginning of radio. Hang around a radio station, approach somebody at a radio station and say, hey, can I come in and learn how to do what you're doing? We've got a young gal who just graduated from high school, and she's in here she wants to, I don't know if she wants to get into radio, but she wants to learn about radio. She wants to do an air shift, and she'll get there eventually. Right now she's doing a little bit of the harder stuff and everything, that stuff that goes on air, but she's learning that. She's learning the equipment and everything, and she keeps at it. I'll give her a chance to get on the radio,
That's amazing. And absolutely, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. And get ready and prepare yourself for an influx of music sent to you, probably from rock bands in the Ottawa, Canada region. And everyone, just
I
remember,
love it. Please do.
yeah,
Please do.
it very well could happen here now. But I just want to say again, thank
Sure.
you so much. You've been amazing, and yeah, I learned a lot today. I hope everybody else out there learned a lot today. And we'll see you all next time on All Worn Out. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Warren.